Excuse me, everyone. Sex!
Within the Isle's melting pot of playables, spanning from the stupid virgin Albertosaurus to the Chad Minmi, there exists a sweet spot. A group of dinosaurs that not only respect your time as a player by not taking 5 business days to grow, but have the weight and weaponry to defend themselves appropriately instead of assuming the fetal position at the first sight of danger. The mid-tiers. Among this class of creature exists some of the more recognizable dinosaurs in the paleo community, such as Allosaurus, Carnotaurus, Maiasaura, and many others. Of these individuals, one particular playable stands out above the rest, as it is the only medium-sized stegosaurid currently on the roster.
New Kung Fu Kenny!
Kentrosaurus. The Isle's very own porcupine, this dinosaur has been long awaited by many a distinguished herbivore enjoyer and, you know, people with taste in general. Seeing as how it was revealed some time ago that this stegosaur is slotted to be among the next batch of dinosaurs that will begin the long, arduous process that is the development cycle, I felt the need to exercise my content creator muscles and put out a real video for once. But before we get into it, I wanted to make this absolutely clear. This is all speculation. Much like Bigfoot, pigeons, and whether or not you're even awake as of this moment, none of this is confirmed. Wake up. Kentrosaurus is not in the game as of right now. All I'm doing is yapping about my general thoughts on what its playstyle might end up looking like, and some suggestions I've thought of to keep its gameplay engaging. Maybe even help out the devs a little, who knows? Who knows what might happen? Life is strange. I wanted to make that painstakingly clear because I have severely underestimated the population of individuals with creaseless brains. Now, without further ado, let's dive into how Kentrosaurus should be. Between 160 and 150 million years ago, the sun once rose over what is now Tanzania, Africa, and all of its creatures began to stir. The shadows of Rhamphorhynchus tandagorensis dotted the coast as they patrolled the beaches of this primordial world, searching for their preferred food, soft-bodied cephalopods such as squid and fish, Giraffatitan branchi, Torniaria africana, and a host of other sauropods that would put even the Morrison Formation to shame filled the morning air with their bellows and melodic hoots. And somewhere, in some lush forest feasting on cycads and primitive ferns, was Kentrosaurus, eavesdropping on their orchestra. Having been originally discovered by German explorer Werner Janesch while on an expedition in 1909, and later described by German paleontologist Edwin Hennig in 1915, Kentrosaurus was the sole stegosaurid of late Jurassic Africa, specifically from the Oxfordian to the late Kimmeridgian. Hennig, the individual who I just told you originally described Kentrosaurus, would then go on to become, wait for it, a Nazi. Yeah. But you weren't expecting that one, were you? Despite being a close relative of its much more popular cousin, the Stegosaurus, Kentro was on the smaller end of the Stegosauridae family, with weight estimates placing it at around 700 to 1600 kilograms. Hey, keep these numbers in mind for later. They'll be important. Like I said before, Kentrosaurus was first discovered in the Tendaguru Formation, which is widely known as one of the most paleontologically diverse dig sites on planet Earth. Remember earlier when I said the number of sauropods could rival the Morrison Formation that I talked about in my Allosaurus video? Diplodocids, Brachiosaurus, and Dicraeosaurids dominated the area in their heyday, with my personal favorite having been the Archbishop. This is a bit of a side tangent, but apart from having the most badass nickname for a specimen probably ever, the Archbishop is essentially a sort of mystery brachiosaur that was initially thought to have been a very large Giraffatitan, until further investigation was conducted, which revealed differences in the structure of the vertebrae when compared to other G. branchi specimens. But sauropods weren't the only group running rampant. Viterupristosaurus, Elaphrosaurus, and Ostafrikasaurus, you already know what it is, baby. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. I'm sorry about that, guys. My YouTuber was showing. During its lifetime, Kentrosaurus would have had to worry about the larger theropods such as Ceratosaurus. However, its main form of defense would have made it a difficult meal for anybody to take down. A row of bilateral plates that morphed into deadly spikes around halfway down its back, extending into its tail. Hence the meaning of its name, Prickled Lizard. It also had an extra set of shoulder spikes, who some theorized may have belonged on its hips. But to be honest, they just look a lot cooler on the shoulder, so we're gonna go with that. Within the animal's tail lied around 40 caudal vertebrae, meaning that Kentro, like many other stegosaurs, relied on its tail as its main weapon when dealing with attackers. Its bone structure would have allowed it to assume a battle stance that would make it nearly impossible for a single hunter to make it past its defenses, which I think warrant plenty of discussion for Kentrosaurus in the context of the Isle, as I have some very very particular ideas. First and foremost, I'd like to address a complaint that I'm sure many of you may have, and that is the fact that I referred to Kentrosaurus as a mid-tier despite its smaller size. While I agree that Kentro is nowhere near fit to ride with the larger boys such as Aloe or even Maya, I do believe it should be classified into at least pseudo mid-tier, and I will be treating it as such for the remainder of the video for 3 separate reasons. Reason number 1, Carnotaurus and Ceratosaurus are both considered mid-tiers, albeit the latter is definitely on the lighter end of the spectrum. Both of these dinosaurs lie within the weight range that Kentrosaurus is predicted to have upon release. Reason number 2, animals in the game are often categorized into 3 weight classes: small, mid, and apex. I feel this is just objectively incorrect, and there are at least 6 categories, but that's a conversation for another day. And reason number 3 is that, as always, everything is subject to change. Diabloceratops's weight was doubled during the horde test within the span of like a week, so this is yet another reminder that I am merely speculating. So for the sake of simplicity, Kentro is a pseudo mid-tier. Only time will prove me wrong, so let's move on. Bars. Herbivore gameplay in the Isle is undoubtedly much more defensive than their carnivorous counterparts, and if ever there was a testament to this, it's definitely Kentrosaurus. This animal is defense to the power of 15 pairs of plates and spikes. The entire playstyle, as is suggested by the concept art, is based off of a porcupine, specifically the African crested porcupine, the largest species on Earth. Because of this, I'd like to focus on this particular sketch, depicting a pair of Kentros defending their hatchlings from an adult Carno. And just in case you're more of a visual learner, this clip perfectly encapsulates how I feel Kentro would handle the majority of encounters with creatures within its weight range. What I am specifically proposing is a sort of battle mode that is a combination of Stegosaurus's power swing and Diabloceratops sparring, in which Kentrosaurus will be able to strafe in any direction while the camera is facing the attacker, allowing our little living prickly pair to perform a backwards charge, inflicting a concerning amount of bleed on anyone unlucky enough to be met by its spikes. Its shoulder blades would additionally be incorporated into combat as well by performing a short but powerful side charge that, while quite telegraphed, would be severe for small and medium-sized carnivores who may find themselves impaled. Penetrated, even. That's not to say I don't want it to have the titular Stegosaur tail swing. I still believe that it is a necessity. Hold on a minute. Rewind the clip. What the fuck was that? With an animal the size and weight of Kentro, this stance would add an extra layer of complexity to its gameplay, specifically its combat, that would attract far more people in the long run. Despite being of a visually more nimble build, it is still a Stegosaurid that will inevitably provide a slower, more laid-back experience. But by making its combat unique to the animal, it would bolster its replayability by a significant margin and further cement its spot on the roster. However, it certainly doesn't mean that Kentro will be invincible. Its soft spots would be free real estate for smaller tier animals that could maneuver past its defenses and strike at its exposed flank or head area. It really isn't the kind of animal that you would want to tail ride while fighting. Larger animals such as Allosaurus would be able to low, possibly mid-diff a solo Kentro, but a group could prove itself to be a serious issue. That is, a group of Kentros against one Allo. You get the idea. Do I believe this combat system will come to fruition? Not for a fucking second, I don't. Realistically, Kentro will indeed receive a power stance, but it would be strictly defensive and more of a barrier, with the Kentro probably only receiving the ability to shift its foot placement to turn its body in place, kind of like a living turret. Its shoulder spikes will more than likely be more of an obstacle for carnivores to avoid while trying to inflict damage, as is shown by this very unfortunate Omniraptor. I feel the need to reiterate, this is all just for fun. I'm serious. The very last thing that I want to do is inconvenience the devs by making it seem like they're going to add a feature they more than likely aren't even planning on including. However, something I do feel is slightly more plausible that I would love to see implemented is natural weapon management. You see, Kentro has a really interesting feature. Funny enough, the feature in question cannot be found within its own concept art, but instead in another creature's. This sketch of a Pachycephalosaurus doing what Pachy's do and attacking a creature for no fucking reason shows a younger Kentro specimen having its shoulder spike completely broken. So it got me thinking. This extends to other herbivores as well, and I'll explain why in just a minute, but Kung Fu Kenny is probably the best vessel to explain this idea, which is... Did you guys just see that? What the fuck was that? Kentrosaurus should have to manage its spikes in order to effectively utilize them in combat by seeking out a particular type of tree or rock that is visually distinct from the others surrounding it, and using them to sharpen its defenses. Oh, and also just maintaining a good balanced diet. Perhaps Honey Nut Cheerios.
Cornflakes.
I've mentioned something akin to this in the past, specifically in my baryonyx video. The difference in this case is that Kentro should very much be punished if they fail to upkeep their weaponry. See, because its entire fighting style revolves around its spikes, the player should be wary of their condition, or health, by avoiding unnecessary confrontation that would only serve to damage the wellness meter of its full-body thagomizers. Spike health could possibly be displayed visually through cracks, flushed color, or even blood seeping from the bases, as they are made of bone after all. Neglect your spikes, your life is forfeit. After all, deer break their antlers all the time in the wild, they shed them regularly, and they end up growing back. I'm fully aware that cows, buffalo, and similar animals have horns that don't grow back, but just make them grow back. Now, I'm fully aware of what's running along in that beautiful little head of yours. Another thing to manage? Really? God, Kingfisher, you should just stop talking. Yeah. Probably. Because Kentro is a relatively slower creature, I feel having something as important to manage as the very things keeping you alive will work towards making the gameplay loop feel less boring, since you'll always have something you need to do. I think of it as managing and repairing your weapons in Ark or Minecraft. Similar concept, only from a more naturalistic perspective. You're free to disagree with me on that, of course, and call me a poopy head in the comments, to which I will then probably cry, cause that's mean. However, I do not think that all creatures with this kind of weaponry should be punished for neglecting them. Ideally, it would be supplementary to some creatures and mandatory for others. An example of a supplementary creature would be one like Kentrosaurus. Fairy would have deadly claws no matter what, and its day-to-day lifestyle is enough upkeep. However, if players do choose to seek out these specific maintenance structures, they would be able to receive a temporary damage boost, or perhaps another quality of life improvement, or even a special unlockable mutation. Same supplementary concept would apply to animals like Berry, Aloe, and Carno that sport a secondary attack in their kit, which would greatly benefit from this kind of management. Kentrosaurus will undoubtedly be one of the most unique playables in the Isles roster. If you've seen my herbivore tier list video, then you already know it is one of my most anticipated creatures, and I genuinely cannot wait to see what the developers have planned for it. If anyone at Afterthought is watching, then I really hope I may have sparked some light bulbs. And to my lovely viewers, what are your thoughts? I really love this creature, so I'd be glad to see your perspectives in the comments. But once again, these are all just ideas, and at the end of the day, only time will tell what Kentrosaurus will ultimately be like in the Isle. If you made it to the end of the video, then thank you so much for watching. Like I said, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Did you like the video? Did you not like it? What did I do good? What did I do bad? I'm still trying to find myself as a creator, so just be as honest with me as you possibly can, and I'll keep doing my best to try putting out quality videos to make your day a little brighter. Until then, this has been Kingfisher. Bye-bye.